Hello, genealogists. This is Craig, and this is Just Genealogy. And we continue our discussion of genealogy standards, standards for data collection, standard number 27, note-taking objectivity. Please remember that I do not represent the Board for Certification of Genealogists, that what we're dealing with is just my opinion on the matter. So standard 27 says, note-taking objectivity. Genealogists do not allow bias, preference, or preconception to affect their choices of information to collect and not to collect. They suspend judgment about the information's effect on the research question until they have collected sufficient relevant information, analyzed it, and compared it to other findings. See glossary for definitions of analysis, information, and research question. This is a big problem that we have as genealogists, is that we always bring to the table our own personal experiences, whether it be with records or whether it be with people or whether it be with our understanding of events. It could be just about anything. And we, regardless of what we feel on the matter, we are all biased, we all have preferences, and we all have preconceptions. As genealogists, we attempt to mitigate that problem. There's no way that you can be in a position of not having bias, not having a preference, and not having a preconception, but there is a way to deal with it, and that's to be aware that you have a bias, preference, and preconception. Now, over time, this probably won't be as big a problem for you as it is in the beginning. The bigger problem that you will have, in my mind, is not your own personal bias, preference, or perceptions, but the biases, preferences, and preconceptions that people that you are having to deal with have. For example, many times I've been told while researching in records, trying to get to them, flat out people say, there's no genealogy information in those records. And my position will always be, I don't care whether there's genealogy information in those records or not. I want to look at them anyway. And a lot of it has to do with that our definition of what is genealogical is different. So you have to deal with other people's biases and preconceptions and preferences. Probably their preferences that they don't deal with you at all, but because you're asking them to pull records that they just know that there isn't any information in that will help you and that you're just wasting their time. You get used to that after a while. I come from the position that almost every record has genealogical material in it. You just have to know how to look at it in order to establish that it is in fact genealogical. And many times records have pieces of information in them that by themselves are not, quote, genealogical. They are, but are not substantive. Maybe that's a better word. But when correlated with other records that you're looking at, they are extremely valuable. So recognize that no matter what you do, you're going to have a bias, you're going to have a preference, and you're going to have a preconception of sorts. And that awareness is the first step in your ability to actually deal with it. I don't turn my nose up at any record. Of course, that means I spend a lot of time in records that I might not have to in order to solve the problem, but I also suffer from a disease called serendipity, which means that I'm always looking at records to see how they can be useful to me, even if they aren't, quote, germane to the problem at hand, but I come across them while dealing with the problem at hand. It has to do with the concept of focus, and sometimes you just are unable to focus because something is so much more interesting. But I guess that's a bias. Always look for the more interesting. So anyway, this is Craig. This has been Just Genealogy, and we've been talking about standard number 27, note-taking objectivity. Thank you all so much. Please tell your friends. Please subscribe if you haven't done so. Please watch as much as you can. We're now up to 27. There are 80 of these that will eventually get our way through. Have a great day.